Going on, boys? This will be one of two videos where you will be hearing me, and I will be posting. Well, I'll talk about that afterwards. This is a little takeoff on my "A Boy Comes Home" thing I've been doing. Some of you guys know I've been when they find a World War II vet and they finally get to bring them home. I've been posting those, but this is something just as important to me. We lost a Pearl Harbor survivor, Mr. Ray Emory, 97 years old, Pearl Harbor survivor, died yesterday. Some of you guys been watching Brian over at BAS. Some of you guys know, he's building the Arizona, and he's been putting up various things on the Arizona, and he had done something back in I think it was June, somewhere around there, on Mr. Emory. That was when he made his last visit. He lived in Hawaii, but was moving back to the mainland, to the States, to be close to the family. And he made his last visit, and so I'm going to read his obituary. He did a lot. You'll listen. You listen, okay? Ray Emory at 97, Pearl Harbor survivor. Honolulu, a Pearl Harbor survivor who pushed to identify buried unknown remains from the 1941 attack, died yesterday at age 97. Ray Emory lived through the early morning Japanese aerial bombing, but never forgot those who didn't. He spent the past few decades doggedly pushing for those unknown buried remains to be dug up, identified, and returned to their families. Mr. Emory died peacefully and without pain in a hospital in Boise, Idaho, according to his family, said Billy Doty, Deputy Director of Public Affairs for Navy Region Hawaii. Mr. Emory recently moved to Boise to live with his son. He left Hawaii because his wife had died and he didn't have any family in Hawaii. He planned to go fishing in Idaho. Before moving, he visited Pearl Harbor one last time in June. That was the one that Brian showed. More than 500 sailors stood side by side on ships and piers to surprise him. They greeted him with salutes and cheers. Chief Emory fought back that day, manning his machine gun, taking on enemy planes. Rear Admiral Brian Ford, Commander, Navy Region Hawaii and Naval Surface Group Middle Pacific, said at the ceremony honoring Mr. Emory. He continued to fight on throughout the war in the Pacific. He and his buddies, with the help from the home front, helped create an unprecedented era of peace, stability, and prosperity. Victory at the end of World War II was Ray's finest hour. During the attack on Pearl Harbor, Mr. Emory managed to fire a few rounds at the airplanes that dropped the torpedoes. He still had an empty bullet casing that fell to his ship deck. In 2012, the Navy and National Park Service recognized Mr. Emory for his work with the military the Department of Veterans Affairs to want to remember Pearl Harbor's dead. Bureaucrats didn't welcome his efforts, at least not initially. Mr. Emory says they politely told him to go you know where. It did not deter him. First, thanks to legislation sponsored by the late U.S. Rep. Patsy Mink of Hawaii, he managed to get gravestones for unknowns from the USS Arizona marked with the name of their battleship. In 2003, the military agreed to dig up a casket that Mr. Emory was convinced, after meticulously studying records, included the remains of multiple USS Oklahoma servicemen. Mr. Emory was right, and 5 sailors were identified. So 5 families got their boys back. It helped lay the foundation for the Pentagon's decision more than a decade later to exhume and attempt to identify all 388 sailors and Marines from the USS Oklahoma who had been buried as unknowns at the Punch Bowl in Honolulu. That's the National Cemetery. I knew I was going to have a hard time reading this. Thank you, Mr. Emory. God bless.